Well, hello and welcome to the Photo Brigade Podcast. I am Robert Caplin. I am really happy that I've got my new friend Peter Hurley on the show. How you doing, Peter?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here.
Welcome.
And I'm going to have some Photo Brigade water.
Okay, yeah, it's Photo Brigade water.
That's
right
good.
out of the faucet. So welcome to the Photo Brigade Podcast. I know this is your first time. This is the first time we're meeting.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy because...
Yeah, and you asked me. What was it? That was nice. Of
course.
I think, and then I started asking people like in the industry about him, and they all gave me like, don't get anywhere near that guy.
Come on, they gave you the thumbs up, didn't they?
They gave him a big thumbs up. I was like, no, because my wheels are spinning. The wheels are off the bus, and then people asked me to do stuff, and I was like, so I got to go to other people and say, should I do something with it? And they're like, no, that guy's seriously cool. You got to take time out. So I took time out today to be here with you guys and you. So
Awesome.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Well,
I'm glad you tracked me down.
Yeah, thank you so much. Before we get started, I just wanted to give a few quick shout outs to Canon Professional Services. Shabang.
We like Canon. We love Canon.
We love Canon. Also, Temba Bags, a great camera bag company.
We like Temba bags.
We do. And Rode Microphones for hooking us up with these beautiful microphones.
I have all of that gear. So
do you
use
use Rodes?
Yeah, I use Rodes. I have the little Video Mic Pro on the top of my either whatever I'm shooting.
Whatever you're shooting.
Run around with that.
What are you usually shooting, by the way?
If I'm doing video, I'm like a haphazard video guy. Like I did this one video with an iPhone that got like 2.5 million hits. No, it's got like 2.4 million right now or something like that.
It's a couple.
Many of you guys have seen it. It's called It's All About the Jaw. I did it with an iPhone, but I put my iPhone in like this ALM thing with the Rode mic on top of it,
wow.
so it gives it a little bit of an operation. And when you walk around with that, people look like you kind of know what you're doing, but you really don't.
Well, that's great. I mean, one of the things that's really cool about you is you've really taken off lately through the world of video and the web and social media, and it all kind of started with a Kelby blog guest post.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
And I've done a guest post with Kelby before. I should have done a video, clearly. Yeah. But and it obviously he attracts a lot of viewers and everything. So how did you get connected with Kelby? I want to talk about your background, kind of get that out of the way as well. But
Sure.
Tell me about the kind of connection with Kelby and how this networking has started.
Well, I really believe that I feel fortunate that Scott kind of stepped up and he just. I'll tell you the whole story. So, a couple years ago, Lee and Patrick from the F Stompers were looking to do a video. They wanted to start doing the videos for their video blog, which they had started. And they're like, "Hey, can we come?" Lee was in college and he had emailed like 20. He was doing headshots, and he emailed like 20 headshot photographers, and I was the only one to get back to him. So he remembered that. So years later, like 8 years later, he emails me and he says, "Hey, I emailed you in college. I know you're not going to remember me, but I'm doing this thing, and do you mind if could I come to your studio and video you?" And I was like petrified of being videoed. I didn't want to be videoed at all. I was like, I don't want anybody to see what I'm doing, but these guys seem cool. So I was like, sure, come on in. So they did this video, and I got nervous, and I was shooting real clients, and I kicked them out. And then they posted the video online, and all of a sudden, the contacts that I was getting into the studio, like my emails and stuff, started to go from all clientele to like a lot of photographers asking me questions. I was like, this is crazy. So they said, hey, that went really well. We should do a DVD. So we did the art behind the headshot. And the art behind the headshot started selling, and it just went crazy, and it's probably one of the most successful tutorials that have been out there, and which is amazing. So I just did,
yeah.
I
So
did
when
a tutorial.
So your background. So I was. These guys are being real loud back there. So your background is really interesting. We kind of have a similar path, yet different path in how we got into photography. We got into photography around the same time, which is around 2000 or so. I was back in high school, kind of getting started and taking pictures of classmates, shooting for the yearbook, and interning for the local paper.
Yeah.
You, on the other hand, were a model.
Yep.
And
good-looking one too.
Still a good-looking one, and an athlete. You were a sailor for the U.S. Olympic team.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Have you been an athlete all your life? And
I have raced sailboats. My dad trained for the Olympics when he was growing up, I guess sailing in the 60s. And I was born in 1970, and I turned 6, and he threw me in the water and threw me in a boat, and I loved it. And I remember, like, it ruined my high school years because I don't know all I wanted to do was sail. So I would, like, from Memorial Day, which is this weekend, till Labor Day, it was like there was all I cared about was sailing. And then I never did any sports in high school or anything. I just wanted to sail, so I would do some trips over the year, and I would ski a little bit and stuff. But my only sport that I ever had a passion for was sailing. So I was training for the 96 Olympics. A designer came down to my yacht club, brought a photographer, took some pictures of me, sent the pictures over to Ralph Lauren because they wanted real sailors for an ad campaign. And they gave me the job. I show up on the shoot. Bruce Weber's the photographer. We become friends. He takes the most amazing pictures I've ever seen in my life. And he encourages me to pick up a camera. Thank God. I mean, I don't know why.
Well, Bruce Weber's an amazing photographer, shooting for Abercrombie and Fitch and all these other, big corporations. Not corporations, but like clothing companies. And everything.
He's a genius.
Yeah. And so he told you, you guys just had this kind of rapport together because he was photographing you and
yeah, we became friends, and I hung out with him a bit, and he's all over the world and stuff. But when he was back in his loft in the city, I would go and hang out with him, and sometimes he has like houses he has in the Adirondacks and stuff, so I would go up there. He had sailboats, so he thought it would be cool if I came up, so I went up there and did some sailing, which was fun. And then he just slowly encouraged me to pick up a camera, and I was like, Bruce, do you tell everybody to pick up it? Like, why are you telling me? And why did I do it?
Right,
and now I'm blown away. And he joked, he's like, well, Peter, I just thought you'd take pictures yourself.
Right.
But
did you start taking pictures of yourself at first?
No, I didn't.
Did you start bringing it onto shoots that you were a subject of?
No, I became what really bothered me was that I modeled for years, and I never paid attention to what the photographers were doing. Because I didn't care. I was like, just take my picture, put it in a magazine, pay me. I'm going to go sleep on the couch or whatever. I was like, I would not pay attention on the set. When I picked up a camera, I became the most annoying model on the set. And luckily for me, the photographers and the clients didn't like that. And my modeling career went in the tank. I switched agencies, which I had one agency where I was working fairly well, and I was with Click, and they were amazing. And then I don't know what I thought. There was an agent that wanted me to go to Wilhelmina. So I was like, Wilhelmina? Oh my gosh, I'm with Click. I'll go with Wilhelmina. I've been with Click forever. I'll mix it up. This is going to be great. I go over to Wilhelmina, stop working altogether. So I always talk about Click. I'm like, hey, I really like those guys. So I should have stayed. But worst thing for my modeling career, best thing for my photography career. I had to figure out how to make a buck. I was the model, actor, bartender dude. I didn't want to be in a bar till 4 a.m. I was bummed. Anyway, that's the story.
So that's another. My mother owned a bar.
Really?
So I had a lot of experience in the bar. Not being a bartender, she owned it from the time I was in third grade until I graduated college in my college hometown.
No way.
Ohio University.
Oh, they love you.
Athens. Oh yeah, I had all sorts of friends. Yeah. We'd go out to karaoke and I'd reserve the table. It was pretty great. We didn't have to pay either.
They love you.
Don't tell my mom.
That's amazing. Yeah, right.
Well, that's great. So you have a really interesting background in how you got into.
That's my wife.
Oh wow.
That's my wife. There she is.
Ow. Very nice. So she was was also a model as well?
Yes. We met on a casting.
Really?
She still goes out. She goes out on audition. I think she had a casting. Yeah, she had an audition yesterday. I think she has something. No, she doesn't have anything today. The city's crazy today. Have you seen that?
The city?
Crazy. It's
out
crazy.
Here? Yeah. Totally.
Nothing's going on. I was like, I got to get out of here. And I'm like, the traffic's nuts.
And you guys have...
That was an aside. That's my brain just goes. So just don't worry about that.
So you guys have 2 kids, yeah?
2 kids. We have twins. They're 12 girls, identical twin girls.
Holy moly, 12.
Yeah.
Wow, you've had kids for 12 years.
12 years.
Does that make it harder to have a career, the career that you're doing?
I honestly, I think I have... Somebody told me this, and I'm going with it. 80% of somebody's success is based on their spouse, is what I heard. So I will give that up to my wife because she allows me to be the crazy. I'm like I don't call myself a workaholic. I'm a full boreaholic. There's no off switch. I never stop. I don't know how to stop. I can't stop. I don't know how to do it. So she just puts up with it, and I'm like, and then she embraces it and lets me do what I want to do. So there's never any I travel a lot. I'm all over the place, and I'm, for instance, writing a book. So Scott asked me to write a book. Scott Kelby asked me to write a book. So I'm not a writer, and I'm not good at writing. And that's why I did the video blog, because they asked me to do something. You could write a blog or you can do a video. I was like, I don't do either, but I'm doing video because I can't write.
Uh-huh.
So I knew I was never going to write a book. So I said, Scott, I'm terrible. He goes, well, look, this is what we'll do. Every time we're together, we'll sit down, we'll put my iPhone in between us, and you'll just talk the book to me. I was like, really? And then, so we did that for like 6 months. Every time we got together, we would talk the book out, and we transcribed it into a book. And then I was like, Scott, well, now it's transcribed, but it doesn't make sense. Like, I read it, and it's not like my voice. It's like us talking, and it's a little confusing. So I actually have to go write. So this book was supposed to be out last August, and it's still not out yet.
Well,
so
you can go to Amazon here. This is the book, right?
That's the book.
This is the book on Amazon.
Headshot.
The Headshot. The Secrets to Creating Amazing Headshot Portraits. Voices that Matter. Is it an audiobook?
Voices that matter.
Why does it say that?
I have no idea. We're going to fix that.
We'll have to fix that. But it looks like you can pre-order the book on Amazon, so go throw that in your cart if you can. So anyway,
it's just so they know, it's going to be done. My self-imposed last deadline is June 1st, so this book will be done and off my plate. I'm trying to clear plates.
It's
a good idea.
About
clearing plates.
Clear the plates, move on to the next thing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, as we talk, I'm gonna kind of go through some of your photos, and one of the things that I should mention, we've already gone through some of them, and previously you are known mostly for your headshot portraiture.
Yeah.
The headshot crew.
Yes.
Which is what you
yes.
are always promoting on the videos and everything.
I love this shot.
This shot, yeah.
Oh, I just love it. If you can make a dude that runs the show look like that, like, guys, everybody in the freaking world needs a headshot. This is a skill. Like, every portrait photographer out there has to have headshots in their repertoire. I make $1,000 for somebody to walk in my studio for an hour to do that. And the lights are all set up. Nothing moves. Mm-hmm. They walk in, and the only reason why I do the hour is because I feel like I'm gypping them if I tell them it's only a half hour. I could shoot a CEO in 5 minutes. He could walk out with a $1,000 headshot. It's awesome. And let me tell you about the money end of it. I did not create the $1,000 headshot. The headshot photographers before me in New York created that. And I was a benefactor of it. It was just luck. But if whatever market you're in, wherever you are in the world, look and search and see what people are charging. I think this market can handle the big money. But if your work is amazing, then you can charge for it. If your work sucks, then you can't charge for it.
I think that's pretty clear. Yeah, that makes sense. And you should mention, you're talking about the market of headshot photography. So you were here in New York. You were trying to make. You said you were bartending.
Oh,
at the time.
I was making. I lived in a 5th floor walk up on Bleecker Street, and I opened the door, and my feet hit the bed. I was like, I couldn't fit in the room. I'm 6'1", and I was in that little bed. I couldn't even fit in there.
I had an apartment like that too, just a studio where the couch, you could put your feet up onto the bed as a rest. Yeah. Incredible. I can't believe they charged me. I think I was paying $1,900 a month, and that was my first apartment in New York.
Yeah.
And then it moved to $2,100 for a studio.
Yeah.
It was in the West Village though.
Yeah.
But so anyway, you were bartending. You were trying to get into taking the pictures, and you thought headshots. Was it mainly because you were an actor?
It was because I was an actor. I mean, when I picked up the camera, what happened was I didn't know what I wanted to shoot, but I was inspired by all these photographers that had photographed me. So the natural progression, and the thing about it is a lot of models were picking up cameras at the time. I mean, I'm sure they still do. Why wouldn't they? You know, I feel fortunate that I made it and was able to, build the life that I have for my family because of headshot photography. Really, everything I've done is because I take headshots. I do killer jobs. I love the jobs I do. I do big jobs all the time. I've never had an agent. I just did a job with Cosmopolitan yesterday, working for Oil of Olay, and that kind of stuff I love. I did a job with them last month in LA for Revlon, but that stuff happens, once a month or whatever. This is my bread and butter. I walk in every day. I worked so hard at this when I started that every day somebody walks into my studio for a headshot, and I feel very fortunate about that.
And you got some celebrities here.
Oh, Chris is awesome.
Chris Matthews,
he calls me up and he goes, "Hey, Peter, I need a headshot. It's Chris Matthews." And I was like, hey, Chris. I was like, holy smokes. He's like, I'm coming to New York. Can you do it tomorrow night? And I was like, I can do it after this time. He goes, okay. So he walks in, and I get jazzed up to shoot the celebrities. I love it. And he was like really cool. And the fact that most of the time they have somebody call, like 90%, 99% of the time. Chris is not like that. Chris is like, hey, you know how he is if you've seen him. So he walks in, he goes, you just got to make me look good. It was for a book that he was doing. So I was like, okay. And I love this because I like shooting recognizable people. So that's what gets the adrenaline flowing. So one of my things that I try and do with everybody as a portrait photographer, and we should all do this, is connect with your subject, right? So I don't know anything about politics. I don't want to talk about politics at all. I don't want to, and I'm sure he didn't want to either. I didn't want to have anything. I just talk about sailing and my kids and that kind of thing. So this girl who I shot before him walks in the studio because she forgot a sweater or something. She sees him and she goes, oh my gosh, is that Chris Matthews? I was like, yeah. I tell this story in the book, so it's kind of funny. Mm-hmm. She goes, I'm a big fan. Can I say hi to him? And I was like, sure. I was like, yeah, why not? He seems like a nice guy. Say hi to him. She goes in and says hi to him, and he was the nicest guy to her. But he goes, did you just get your shots done with Peter? She's like, yeah. And she goes, my son's an actor. And he pulls out his card and passes the card in front of me, past me to her to show his son. And I look at it, it says Thomas Matthews. I was like, wait a minute. Thomas Matthews is your son? He goes, yeah. I was like, I shot him. He's like, you took those pictures?
Oh, really?
I was like, yeah, I took those pictures. He goes, those were really good. It wasn't the picture on the card. It was an old one. He goes, those pictures were really good. I was like, wait a minute. How did you find me? He goes, my agent gave me a list with 5 names on it. I picked the Irish guy.
Oh, really? That's what he said.
That's what he said.
Oh, that's too funny.
That was awesome. I mean, so I don't know what it did for him, but for me, it was like, I had a connection. That's all I needed. The rest of the shoot, I was way more chill. I mean, these days I'm more chill than I've ever been. But then I would be, it's like, you get the juices flowing. You guys get a big celebrity in front of you. It's exciting. You want to do well with them. You've seen pictures of them. You want to smoke those pictures, don't you? You want to smoke them. That's what you want to do. Shabang them. I should say shabang them.
Shabang. All right. So one of the things that we should talk about is your style. That's what everybody's kind of following, the Headshot Crew, headshotcrew.com, right?
Yes.
I'll pull that up in a second. But you have like a sort of a known style, the Peter Hurley style that people are used to, which is a lot of lighting. You really, it's serious. It's the real deal, which means that you mostly do your work in studio. Yeah. Because bringing that crap around is a big pain in the butt, right?
Oh my gosh. Well, the thing is that now that the business has changed, and this is why I talk about headshots all the time, the business completely changed. In 10 years ago, I shot 99% actors. Maybe one person would walk in asking for a headshot. So I opened a studio in LA and I did actors, and then I started teaching, and people were like, well, I'm not in New York or LA, I don't shoot actors, can you, sometimes I do headshots of people, can you teach me how to do that? And all of a sudden, like 2-3 years ago, I think we're like pre-internet bubble with headshots. I think it's the biggest growing genre of photography out there. My business model completely changed. I do about 50-50 now, 50% actors, 50% people who just want headshots or corporate or whatever, anybody. Everybody needs a good headshot, otherwise you look like a chump online. We all have a digital identity and you want to look good. When people Google you, I just did some hiring for a new assistant and stuff, and I went through this project. What's the first thing I'm doing with these people? Well, I asked him for a headshot, actually. I was like, I'm a headshot photographer. You got to show me your headshot. What are you using? What are you running with? What do you got online? What's your digital identity like? But even with clients, like I'll stalk them online and check out their digital identities to see what I'm going to smoke when they come in. I want to know what I'm up against, what I'm going to be. I want to take the best headshot of their lives. I got to know what I got to beat. So I look them, check them out. I want to see which angles, like if they're a celebrity, they're shot a lot. I'll check which side predominantly they shoot on and that kind of thing. So, what I did was, for years, I shot Kinoflow lights. Mm-hmm. And have you ever?
I've never shot Kinoflow lights.
They're massive.
When I shoot, I'm a photojournalist by nature. I shoot with the smallest gear.
You're run and gun.
Gunning, yeah.
Well, for me, I built this Kinoflow setup, and I never once had taken. I will take it around New York. If I can drive, I'll throw it in my car. If I'm in LA, I'll throw it in the car. but I've never taken it on a plane. And it was always a problem. So a few years ago, I started this company called Hurley Pro, and I make products. The whole concept behind the brand is get your studio on the move. Get your stuff on the move. Make it easy for you to go on the move. So I have this product called Pro Board, which is a board I put up as a backdrop. I used to take Seamless with me, and it was such a pain in the butt. Now I just roll up this board, I throw it on a plane, and I'm good to go. So I take the backdrop, and then I've designed these H2 Pro bags, which I went to Cosmo yesterday. I didn't want to bring my sandbags. I hate bringing sandbags. So I got H2 Pro bags coming out in the next month or so, and you just fill them with water, and they're awesome. I can't wait to get those. But I built a lighting system. I called it the Medusa. I started showing it at WPPI. I brought it to Cinegear. I dumped a bunch of money into it. I realized I am a photographer, and lighting is a totally different animal, and I just can't deal with this. So I started to look to partner with some lighting companies and get my concept to come alive. And I just have an incredible relationship with Westcott, and they were like, what do you want to do? And they just asked me, they said, let's tell me everything you want, put it down on paper, whatever. And they came out with, while we were in talks of what I wanted or what I want to do, they came out with the Flex panel. Do we have a Flex? They must have a Flex in here.
Are you talking about your
Can
Hurley
you get me
Pro
a Flex? No, they got a little Flex. It's like a 10 by 10 square.
Oh, we'd have to call it from the bottom floor
or something. Get the Flex. Can you get a Flex panel for me?
Flex panel. Can we get a Flex panel?
Can we get a Flex panel? Westcott, Flex panel. Bring it up. Perfect. Well, we're at a store. They can get us a Flex panel. So I saw the Flex panel. Now I shoot Kino flows, which are 4 feet long and 2 feet long. And I talked to Westcott. I said, look, the Flex panel's awesome. Can we make it to these specs? And they said, maybe. And then that maybe turned into a yes, and that yes turned into prototypes, and those prototypes went to NAB, and then Flex became the number one, the winner of NAB for best product. And then the prototypes came to me, and I started shooting them. And then I flew to Nova Scotia with my prototypes, and then I flew to the Bahamas with my prototypes, and now I'm done. I'm like, I love them. I'm shooting them up a storm. I just brought them to Cosmo. I just shot the Olay shot. For Oil of Olay, for skin, for beauty, for with these lights. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
My grandfather called it the oil of old age.
Yeah.
Well, so talking about all this Hurley Pro stuff, which I just had up on here. Where did it go? Hurley Pro. Okay, so you've got all these different products that you're producing. You're making. I'm wondering. So you built these products because you needed them in your studio space, or you needed to tweak some things?
Everything that I build is based on something that I want to use that I don't have. Like, okay. Why does this not do this is the question I ask myself often. And then I'll design something. Sometimes the product's out there and it does it. I work with tether tools a lot. Like, I love their stuff. Like, they have these little things, and I shoot tethered all the time. I don't shoot without shooting tethered, and all their little stuff is great. So I was like, I love all these little gadgets that they have. But sometimes it's not out there, and if it's not out there, then I'm up for making it. If it's something that resonates with me, So you've got a tether table right there.
Hey,
look at that bad boy.
Yeah. Is that what that is? Tether table? All right.
Yeah. Come on, look at that thing. It's awesome.
I wish we could show, but we don't have any cameras.
I bring that everywhere with me.
So we're talking about business here. So as a photographer, my business, like yours, has changed over the years. It used to be that I was shooting daily assignments for editorial clients and making small day rates for those things, and then it slowly has moved to more corporate commercial advertising, and then there's things like Photo Brigade that's come up, and now I'm getting into workshops and yada 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 yada.
Yeah.
I've also done some books before, which is what you're getting into as well. So
Jeez.
Now I'm wondering in terms of your business, how much is it now, and kind of can you tell me the transition since you've become a photographer, made a name for yourself as a headshot portrait photographer. Now that you've got all this gear that you're settling, you've got books, you've got DVDs, you've got workshops, you've got intensives, you've got, I'm sure, other things. How much, is your income now coming more from other sources, or is it coming more from assignments still? I mean, when I say assignments, shoots.
I guess I would say I guess the thing is that you live in New York City, you try and figure out how to make a buck any way you can.
Sure.
So I guess like everybody who talks about the recession hitting, I would say the recession wasn't that bad for me, but it was a little bit of a hit. So I was like, it wasn't a big deal, but I was cranking. I was booked like 2 to 3 months in advance in 2006. In 2007, it started to hit 2008 and everything like that. So I was looking, I was like, what can I do? And I never thought that the teaching would... I just did the teaching because... Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. We got some...
baby.
Some
okay. I would love it. Well, I'll just show it. You guys, it turns on very bright. Just imagine that it
so
turns on bright.
these are little LEDs in here?
Yeah, so these are LEDs. So what they and it's totally flexible. Like I bend them up and put them in my bag. So
we made a video on Adorama TV about this. Of course you did.
This is the best product at NAB. So this is I believe this one's 10 by 10 inches. That's a 13-inch iMac? Yeah.
Yep.
Is that
10 by 10?
That's about 10 by 10. All right. So 10 by 10 for me just doesn't, I wasn't like jump. We did some prototypes that were using these, just putting 2 together and 3 together. And I was like, I need more spread. I just need more juice out of it, blah, 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 blah. But Westcott came through. They were like, what do you need? Tell us what you need. We'll tell you if we can do it. I said, if you could do it, I'd love it. And then we designed, I also needed some specifics in terms of the way the diffusion worked with it. So we designed a diffusion system for it based on their scrim gym, which is amazing because now all I do, this thing has, mine has Velcro around the outside. I should have brought it with me. What was I thinking?
Oh, well.
Anyway, you slap the Velcro onto the scrim gym, and then I put whatever I want over the front of the scrim gym to diffuse this, which I love. And the scrim gym frame is how you hold this thing
cool.
On your light stands.
All foldy and bendy and just plug that into a little power source?
Yes, and bright like you would not believe.
I'll have to try that out. That's neat.
Really bright.
And that's one of the reasons why I don't really use big light panels is because they're so bulky. You know, sometimes I'll use the small light panels, I guess. Are you using more and more... what do you call this? Consistent light?
I don't know. I use continuous light all the time.
Continuous light.
I don't know why you would buy any other continuous product other than that. I mean, look at this. If you look at all the other light panels, there's like stuff. This is this. That's it. That's it. Like
that's it.
That's it. Anyway, so, but I used continuous light for years, and that stemmed from me. Honestly, I mean, I have a tutorial out through F-Stoppers called Illuminating the Face. I light faces like you wouldn't believe, but when I started, I was clueless. I knew natural light. I was a natural light guy. I sat my butt on a windowsill and I just shot. And when I had to light something, I got in here. I bought a Q2 Pro Photo Acute Pack from Julio in this store in 2001, and there she blows. Look at that.
How about that? Let's have this kind of running in the background as you talk.
Yeah, that's cool. So, and I started firing a strobe off, and the thing just went all over the place, and I did not know what to do with it. And then I moved from my apartment, which had a really nice, beautiful window, into a studio that didn't have a window, and I was lost. I believe that all the light that you see that we're trying to create, this and the strobes and everything, are trying to emulate that.
I love this light out there, as a matter of fact, right now. It's just a reflective surface. It's perfect, isn't it?
That's unbelievable.
I usually do my portraits of subjects out there with that light afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing, is that if you don't know that light, what are you doing messing with these lights? Like, you got to know that light first. If you know natural light, like the palm of your hand, then, or back of your hand, or whatever the saying is, then you can start to move on from there. But I was forced to figure it out, and I got lucky because one day a photographer was using Kinos in the studio next to mine, and I just looked at it. I was asking his assistant, what is that? And he's like, oh, those are these Kino float. I was like, are you kidding me? So the guy left them after the shoot, and the rental house was going to pick them up after the weekend. Well, I just snuck into the studio, fired those puppies up, and purchased them the next day.
So this illuminating the face, it's F-Stoppers. It can be bought here at. You can go to Peter Hurley's website, and there are links all over the place for it.
Yeah,
so
you
check
can do
it out.
that, or just go to the F-Stopper store and buy that sucker.
Awesome. So you have a really close relationship with F-stoppers, and
Yes.
when did that start? Because there are these big blogs like Kelby, F-stoppers, and others, and
Well, there was the connection between Kelby and F-stoppers happened because we made this DVD, The Art Behind the Headshot, and Patrick, who's right there, said, "Hey, we got to get you on with Scott." And here's his assistant, Brad Moore's email
Brad's
and
a nice
phone
guy.
number. Brad's amazing.
Yeah.
Like now I'm tight with Brad. He's awesome. And I love getting him in front of a camera. He's so cute. He's adorable. Anyway, I get him in front of my camera. No, I love that. I'm kidding. I love the guy. But that's when he said, "Do you want to do the video?" So we did the guest blog, and about a month after that, they were doing the Google Plus conference in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And Scott, when I got that email from Scott inviting me to go, I almost fell off my chair. I mean, I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I'd never spoken anywhere. I'd spoken at the other store, and I hadn't spoken anywhere else. So what happened was, this is a good story. So I get there, I'm nervous. I don't have my presentation ready. The guy doing it, because I don't know how to do keynote, hadn't gotten it to me yet. And they said, "You're going on at 3:00. I was like, "Great." Well, Scott has his keynote at like 10 in the morning. So Scott's doing the keynote. I get there. I'm like, I don't have to go on until 3. I'll get my presentation. I'll study it. I'll be fine by 3:00. I was nervous, but I'll be fine. Well, they tell me, "Wait, hold on." They're doing this Google live feed, and Sergey, or one of the Google guys, wants to go on in your time slot. So you have to go on at 11, right after Scott, after the keynote. So Scott does the keynote. I call my guy with my thing. I was like, "You got to get it to me now." He gets it to me. Scott goes up, does the keynote. I've never spoken in front of anybody, really, except for in a little room. And Scott goes, "Okay, everybody, you're never going to believe this. Peter Hurley's here. You got to stay in your seats." And there were like 500 people. I have a picture of it on my Facebook somewhere. I gotta amp up that picture again.
I'd probably poop my pants right there.
I was so nervous that I went to start the presentation on my Mac, and the little play button, I couldn't get the mouse to stop on it to hit play because I was like this. If you look at it, you can tell. You could tell I'm nervous. But luckily, I put a song with my pictures going, and I had T-shirts that I was throwing out to the crowd. So I just started running around throwing stuff, and my nerves kind of I could talk. If my nerves so basically the way I am today is nothing like that guy back then.
Well, I mean, I think that's what's really great about you is you have this personality where you can put pretty much anybody at ease. You've had customers walking through here, coming and stopping because of your personality. I think you bring them in. So and that's a key. That's a great key to making beautiful photos of. Well, one of the things that
those are some nice clamps over there.
Nice,
beautiful
clamps. This guy is stupid.
I was trying to get his attention though.
But one of those things that you talk about a lot. Let me try to find the right webpage. Is just your, what was it? 10% photographer, 90% therapist.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with Arnold Newman, I believe his quote was portrait photography is 10% photography and 90% moving furniture.
Oh, really?
That's
yeah,
what
I've heard that quote, I think.
Yeah, that's what he said.
I don't think I heard that before. I was just signing up for Twitter, and it said put your bio, and I was like, I don't know what to put. And I put that in 2009, and then it stuck.
Yeah.
And nobody confirmed it until I started working. I did this job for Microsoft, and the head psychologist for Microsoft was on the job. We were at an offsite in Dallas, and her name's Dr. Anna Rowley. And Anna and I I photographed her, and we became friends, and I told her about this, and she goes, "You are." She goes, "You really are." And I was like, and that's coming from a doctor, like a psychologist. Yes. I was like, this is awesome.
So let's talk about that a little bit, like getting the looks out of people, because obviously if you're spending, you say you average what, between half hour to an hour usually, or more, if for some of these portraits. It
depends. Yeah, I can do it faster now. Before, for years, it would take. I wouldn't book somebody if they wanted to book less than an hour. I wouldn't even book the hour session. You could only come to me for 2.5 to 3 hours because I wasn't good enough to get what I wanted out of them in an hour. So I wouldn't book hour sessions. And then as my direction, one thing in photography that I think you never master is direction. So as my direction got better, then I could start to get people in less than an hour. And now I can get people in 30 seconds to get a good shot. So it took years to do it. And it's kind of the stuff I teach. So I write about it in the book, and I teach it I'm doing a headshot crash course on June 6th and 7th that's still got space in it if anybody's interested.
Cool.
It's a one-day course.
Could find information on that where? On your website?
Headshotcrew.com.
Headshotcrew.com. Cool. So I have a question here from the internets. And this kind of goes along with what we were just talking about. Wanting to get advice on building confidence with clients. And I don't know necessarily if that means the people you're shooting or just in general clients that hire you on a regular basis, whether that be corporations or whatnot.
The best way to build confidence is have confidence in your work. If your work rocks, you're going to be a more confident human being. And then also you'll gain respect of your clientele. So, I wasn't confident at first. I mean, I knew my work was good, but I didn't know what to say to them. And I think the biggest leaps that I've made in my direction, number one is I used to try and be what I thought they wanted me to be. I have this story where this corporate client came in, he wanted me to shoot like his whole company. And I was in my like scruffy hair, long hair mode. I change my hair all the time if you ever follow me. And I just was like I was nervous and I was like, it was a big deal that the guy was going to hire me. He brought like 3 people with him to interview me. And I was just trying to be what I thought he wanted me to be. I was like, no, he wanted me to be more conservative. I had long hair and maybe I wasn't as serious as he wanted me to be. The truth is that years later, now I book everybody under the sun. I have like, if all these Fortune 500 presidents, CEOs like calling me up there, they're like trying to fly me out to different places. And I'm just like this, like the more authentic you can be to yourself and be like yourself is people will gravitate towards that. And if you back it up with work that's really good, then it will show because your belief in yourself is so good. People come into my studio and I know I'm going to take the best headshot they've ever had at that moment in their life. Maybe they were some gorgeous model or something back when and they got some nice pictures of themselves. But my bar is what I'm dealing with in front of me at that time. And I know because of my skill and how hard I've worked that person's going to get, if not the best headshot they've ever had, one that's really as good as whatever they've ever had in their lives. And that shows to people, like it rubs off. And then if they don't respect me or know my work or give me that respect, then it's a little bit more difficult. Then you have to be a little more controlling and it gets a little weird. But you got to do it because you got to be authentic to yourself. It's my time too. If somebody comes in my studio, starts bossing me around, I don't have time for that. It's my day. You're wasting my time. I got time. I'm a busy guy. I got stuff to do. It took a long time to get the confidence, but I know every single person watching this and everybody sitting out there and everybody that's watching at home can do it because I did it.
Yeah.
I was not this guy when I picked up a camera, and I was not this guy talking in front of people when I started. I took my first acting class, and they had us stand up in a room and slate your name. So to slate your name in an acting class, it was a commercial acting class. All you have to say is, my name's Peter Hurley, and then you got to turn like this. You got to turn and show them each profile. And I couldn't say my name. I was like, I couldn't even say my name.
Well, I mean, this kind of stuff builds confidence. It was funny. Our mutual friend Jared Polin, Frono's Photo, he recently posted something on Facebook of him trying to do his first review on some gear. Uh-huh. And it was just utterly he just bombed it. It was really, of course he didn't have the throwback then, right. And he was in a collared shirt. It was hilarious. He made a whole thing about it. You got to check it out.
Cool.
But his persona, his personality, his confidence behind a microphone and in front of a camera.
Oh yeah, changed for all of us. Yeah.
And I think it has. I mean, if you look back to the first time I did a podcast, I think that I've gotten a little bit better at dealing with it too.
I didn't know, but you're very good.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much. I just want to mention that I'm going through these photos here. So your headshot work has kind of moved into, you've gotten a lot more commercial work. And the photos that we're looking at here on your website are lost people, which are looks like not just the actors, but also the crew.
That was the best job I ever did. I got to go to Hawaii. This was the last day of filming Lost. And I ran around and I shot. He was the wardrobe guy. The other guy was the lighting guy. She was the production coordinator. That guy was the set builder. He was the editor. Hank. This is Chris. This is my favorite portrait I've ever taken. In my headshot work, I like stuff really clean.
No,
that's the fluorescent that was there.
Well, fluorescent natural. You're not strobing it, is what I mean.
No. Yeah. That's just what you see is what you get. So, guys, sometimes you get lucky. I was shooting that guy. This is the plane, and it's the sculptor that sculpted the plane and all the styrofoam to make the plane. That was so cool. You go in there.
Styrofoam?
Yeah, that's a big chunk of styrofoam. What? And you go in the plane. I should have taken pictures in the plane. I don't know what I was thinking. Like the plane was with all the stuff hanging out of it, and I don't know. I was like a kid in a candy store at that thing. And I booked the 2 biggest jobs of that year in the same week. So they wanted me to stay an extra day, and I had to come back to New York to shoot an author. And I love the author, the guy I shot. I love him. That's another thing. Like, you make connections with clients sometimes that are really cool. Like, I don't think it was for Simon & Schuster, and Simon & Schuster, they were great. They've always been great to me, but I don't think that they would have booked me. They called him and said, hey, it's time. You have a new book. You need new pictures. And he just said to them, well, you better call Peter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when you build a connection like that. His name, the author's name was Vince Flynn, and unfortunately he passed on. But the pictures and the photo shoots I had with him really mean a lot to me.
I bet.
And he's like the only guy that I would leave Hawaii for.
So I want to also go to Headshot Crew here and talk about this a little bit. But this is your baby that's kind of grown, especially in the past year or two, right?
Yeah.
Because before it wasn't called Headshot Crew. It was like, or was it always?
It was called PH2 Pro.
Right.
So I got to give a shout out to the designer of this. He's been with me since about 2000. We've been friends, maybe 2001. Yeah, no, since 2001 we met. And he built my website, built my brand. He built headshotcrew.com. He built fstoppers.com. His name's Joe Pelosi, and he's 40 today. So 3, 2, 1. Shabang, Joe. Happy birthday.
Awesome. Well, we got everyone's attention, so that was great.
There we go.
Happy birthday.
No, headshotcrew.com. So what happened was I wanted to have a platform. What it started out as, I charge $1,000 a headshot. People call me and I go, oh, it's $1,000. Click, and they hang up the phone. They're not my client. Obviously, it's expensive. I'm considered one of the best in the world. You're going to pay for it, right? But that person on the phone needs a headshot. So I brought in a photographer in New York and trained him, and then he started shooting for me in New York, and I would get that clientele, and it's worked up to this point. So you can get a shot in my studio in New York, basically like that. So then I said, wait a minute, what if we grow this worldwide? So we started Headshot Crew. We now have over 7,000 photographers. If you're not on headshotcrew.com, it's free to sign up. Get yourself in there. You'll be put in our database, and you can be searched, and then the photographers get referrals for jobs.
Oh, nice.
Nothing to do with me. They just sign up. And you don't have to be in the paid portion to get that.
Right.
So there's no reason not to sign up.
You built a community around headshots, which is amazing, which is something I wouldn't have ever expected there'd be a community around.
Yeah.
But you did it.
Yeah, I did it. And it's very cool. So we're going on a Headshot Crew cruise in April 2016.
Is this part of the workshops then?
If you go to the cruise, go to this is my workshops that are currently, one sold out. Which one?
Sold out.
Day
this one.
2 is sold
Day
out.
2.
Oh, day 2.
Man.
I don't think it's sold out. I think I have to. That's good to know. I think there's one more spot left. If anybody wants that, just email info@peterhurley.com. There should be one more spot in there. Anyway, if you go up to photographer coaching, and click and go down into here, there's something about the cruise.
Okay.
Is there some
cruise with?
Yeah.
With a Z?
The Headshot
with a
Cruise
Z,
to Bermuda.
Huh? Okay, so this is just kind of.
So we're
announcing
working
it.
on sponsorship and we're going to be cruising. So I'm going to teach on the cruise, and then we're gonna have just a blast. So I just thought that would be fun. I had spoken to Lee and Patrick about doing like a PH2 Pro thing when it was that. Like maybe that's my gear page with all the stuff that I use. If anybody has any questions about it, I'm happy to talk about it. I'm a big Canon guy. I talk about. I use a lot of pro photo
use
stuff.
a lot of gear, my man.
I use a lot of gear.
That's the one thing also that I want to talk to you about. Is like, I told you I carry very light. Whenever I do things, it's just very, very small kits and nothing as elaborate as you. It seems that. I mean, obviously you have your studio, so it's easier to bring people in there. But when you have to go places, you always have to have an assistant or 2 or 3 or something, right? To really.
Well, I have my studio out in L.A. and I had it for 5 years, so I mostly go and shoot between L.A. and New York. If I go on a job somewhere else, then I have to take an assistant. And we brought when we went to the Bahamas, I got everything in like 4 bags, and then I carry a think tank, international security bag, and a shapeshifter.
Right.
So I'll do the shapeshifter on my back. Actually, because we took the Pro Photo, we got the Pro Photo location kit, and I had it on my back. I use the B1s a lot. And the OCF soft boxes and all that stuff are phenomenal. So that the companies are making the kits available for us, making everything smaller so travel's easier.
Right.
So like this Westcott thing, I brought 4 lights, 2 1x3s and 2 1x2s in those bags, and they're this flat. They're like nothing, So it was great. So my traveling's gotten a lot better. But yeah, I need help.
Can you tell me a little bit about this?
This is Sci-Photology. So, guys, go on sciphotology.com and go click the button to try to ascertain your PQ. Does everybody know what a PQ is? Probably not, because we made it up recently. It's a Sci-Photology quotient. So click that button right there and take the survey and get your PQ sorted out. So it's kind of cool. PQ, for me, when people get in front of a camera, one of 4 things happen. They either own it, they pose, they diminish, or they avoid. You can find out if you're an owner, a poser, a diminisher, or an avoider. 60% of people diminish, and I was one of them. I don't do it anymore because I'm in front of the camera all the time, but I was definitely, when I modeled, I was a diminisher. How many people have PAS here? Picture avoidance syndrome? You guys are photographers. Come on, you're out there. So
I try
those
to stay
are
behind the
avoiders.
camera, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
have that?
A little bit,
You're a good-looking guy. You're better
thank you.
looking
You
than the
too.
average guy. Look at those eyes.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Thank you. Okay, so you've got all sorts of ventures. I mean, your time seems to be.
Well, they have to. Well, just while this is up on the screen, go to the video because guys. So I'm very proud of this. So right there, hit that. So I was asked to do a TEDx talk at MIT through TEDx Cambridge. And this talk was up to the time. Now the book's like the hardest thing I've done, but the talk was really hard. And I was honored to be asked to do a TEDx talk, especially at MIT, because I went to BU. I had to go an extra year because I almost failed out. They told me I had to go to night school, and then I almost fail out of the school, but I make it and I graduate. And now, 20 years later, I'm at MIT with the head cancer specialist and some brain surgeon from Harvard doing a TED talk with a doctor psychologist friend of mine that's like the head psychologist for Microsoft for like 20 years.
That's crazy.
Shabang.
And what's amazing is just where one thing leads to another. The Kelby video that we talked about, where you started this whole shebang thing, which was all about the squinch. Can you show us the squinch?
That was all about the jaw.
Oh no.
Shebang was all about the jaw.
Shebang
all about the squinch was the second one.
Oh, sorry.
I can show the squinch. Can we zoom in? Which one am I?
No zooming.
Guys, so you just got to watch. There's a palpebral ligament. Guys, everybody do this. We got like 200 people out here. So guys. Can you guys all do this? It's going to be tough. I want you to tense your palpebral ligament, right? You got an orbicularis oculi. It's the muscle under the eye. The palpebral ligament runs along the bottom. Don't squint. Squinting's like this. That's not it. I want you to squinch. Watch the lower lids. Ready?
Very nice.
You got it? That's it. You got it. Come on. Don't squint. You're squinting. Stop doing that. Don't bring the upper lids down. Leave them where they are. Just the lower lids up. Come on. You got to do some mirror work. Practice in front of a mirror. You'll get it. If you can get your clients to do this, they will look confident. They will look the best they ever looked, and you'll be good. Watch the video. It's all about the squinch.
So that video, along with the other one, landed you on Good Morning America.
Yes.
I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was cool.
So
you know, the funniest part about that was I land on Good Morning America. They say they're sending a correspondent over. Girl walks in, one of my clients.
No kidding.
Yeah, Sarah Haynes. She's amazing. I love her. And then they send her. I felt like that's another thing. Like you're doing Good Morning America. I'm like nervous and I'm like, but my client walks in and it's Sarah. Like how much more comfortable was I? She's amazing.
That's awesome. So I have a few other questions here on the internet. One was, have you ever tried light painting? I mean,
no.
In general, photography
is painting
artistic, with light,
I don't think.
You never done the light painting before?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I just sit in front of a white backdrop and shoot people that walk in front of it most of the time. I really haven't. I
So
know.
the answer is no.
I would like to. I've seen Mike Kelly do it. I have one of my buddy Mike Kelly does it for his architecture work. I think it looks awesome, but I never.
So does he do it with
never did it.
strobes, or does he do it with like a?
He does it with strobes. I think he uses B1s.
So I learned from Dave Black out of Colorado, who's an amazing light painter, and what he does is he sets up. He'll shoot an entire landscape, trees, and take one of those like million candle watt power flashlights, make an exposure that's underexposed, and then he'll just go around the whole scene, long exposure, painting whatever he wants in it.
Wow.
Just amazing look.
Cool.
It's like nothing you've ever really seen before. But I haven't really done it much for.
Did somebody ask that?
Yeah, somebody asked that
really?
on the
Yeah,
internet,
that's cool.
which I got on this little
That's
note
cool.
here. Yeah. What about the best place to find models?
I'm a facial profiler, so you can't walk down the streets in New York without walking by me and like me being like, "Oh my God, look at that face." I never cared about models. I care about faces. I mean, I guess being a model, like for instance, most people, I think 99% of the population can't model, and the 1% that can, if you can find somebody, grab them and shoot them. But it has to be you or I, because I get people asking me like every week, "Hey, I want a model. Can I come in and take pictures?" And I'm like, sure. I mean, I'm not going to turn away work, but I'm also not going to critique them before I shoot. I mean, if they want my opinion on whether they can model or not, I'm going to tell them the truth is it's really hard. It's really difficult. Like I got lucky. And I don't, tell anybody unless they walk in my studio and like I had a guy recently walked in my studio. I was like, "Dude, you got to model. What's going on?" But that happens like once a year, maybe. So there's also a misconception that models know how to behave in front of the camera. They don't. I didn't know. I was terrible. If the photographer was good, I was great. If the photographer didn't have any game, I was a mess. I didn't know. If you look at my pictures, you can see them. You can see when I look totally cool. Every picture Bruce took, I looked cooler than I looked amazing. I never looked better in my life. Every picture, like the next photographer that you put me on a white cyc, had me stand there. I was a Wrangler guy. I was doing a Wrangler jeans ad, and I'm on a white cyc. Hold on, I'm just gonna do Periscope while we're doing it. Okay. So I was on a white cyc. Sorry, I didn't mean to stop myself. But I was on this white cyc. Well, just leave it. You can see the thing. You guys, I'm on Periscope here. How many people Periscope? You do? Cool.
One person.
Follow me on Periscope. So I was on this white cyc, and the photographer, so I'm just standing there, and it's the worst place to be. Like when I worked with Bruce, that's the other thing. I was out on a sailboat. I was in my element. I was like doing my thing. But when you're on a white cyc and you're a model and you don't really know what you're doing, and the photographer says to you, "Just do what you do."
Just do what you do.
Do what you do. That was my direction. And I was like, do what I do. And meanwhile, it was like this. There were like all these people watching me, like the art buyer and like the people that hired you as the model, and they expect you to be a good model. But I never took a model. I don't think there are modeling classes that benefit. I mean, the models should watch my Squinch video. That'll get them everything they need. So do what you do. And I was like this. I was like, what am I going to do? So I'm standing there and I'm like, I go like this, and then I go, and I bet you that's what I mean. I'm serious. That's what I did. So I must have done something right because Wrangler hired me again. But that was it was interesting. It was very interesting to say the least.
Moving on to your workshops and everything. So I am for the first time going to be putting on a workshop in Maui, Hawaii,
Wow.
which I'm really excited
Holy
about.
smokes.
A little bit different than what
Look at
you've been
that.
doing, which is
this your stuff?
This is my stuff.
Look
but,
at that.
Travel photography, and it's going to be at the
that's
Four
gorgeous.
Seasons.
Oh
it's going
my
to be
gosh,
really cool.
Look at this guy.
Yeah, well, thank you. But my question to you is kind of just advice in general, like in teaching,
because all that looks so slick. It looks good. You're going to do fine. I'm sure people will love it.
I'm sure that it's at the Four Seasons. It's going to be great. I got my pal who I met at a workshop 10 years ago, Peter Lockley, is going to be there with us, and we got some nice sponsors. But my question mainly is, what advice do you have?
Amazing.
What
Look at
advice?
that.
Thank you. What advice do you have to me, I guess, when you're the first time kind of instructing people? I mean, I do the podcast. I talk to friends about technique and stuff, but I've never done it. I
mean, for me, it was about. I was really nervous the first one I did. I was like, I just wanted, I was like, I'm going to get this out there and I'm going to do it well. I'm going to figure it out. And the first one went really well. I was like really amazed. But in terms of the best advice is be authentic to yourself. Don't try and teach something you don't do. Like that looks amazing. I would love to know how you took that. Like, why not? Did you like that? Just looks like you have to sit there for a really long time and take a lot of pictures of a lot of waves coming in and get the light right and be there at the right time and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it looks like you did some stuff possibly afterwards to make it look really cranking.
I didn't. What's amazing about this shot actually is that there was a storm brewing, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, and then the sun was setting off to the right.
That's amazing.
So the sun wasn't being blocked by any of these clouds, so you just kind of underexpose and everything goes a little darker. And I was also shooting at 1.4, so that kind of gives that sharpness on the on the front there.
Look at that.
Yeah, but
I think. For me, the teaching's about the connection with the students. Like, what are they going to get out of it? Like, I don't stop talking. When I'm teaching, I start talking, and I don't stop talking until I'm done, and I just about pass out. But I want them to get something out. I want to inspire them. I think that's part of it. It's like I really actually think I do the teaching. I mean, I love it because I've been, working other businesses and trying to figure out where to spend my time. And I stopped my workshops for the beginning of this year. And then I realized, whoa, I love my workshops. Yeah. I love my headshot crew members, and I love when they, like when I get the stories, like I up their game. If they get better and better and better, there's this guy who's doing so well. Lewis Scott is this guy down in Texas, and he's just rocking it. And he became an associate earlier in the year, and he just keeps pushing the envelope. And then to see these guys grow and where they've gone over the years has been amazing. So it's really about that. I mean, it's about me. I'm selfish that I get all jazzed up by them doing well.
Yeah.
But
so the feeling,
I like inspiring people.
We're right. So the feeling you must have seeing a growth of these attendees of your workshops, intensives, and also even on your website must give you a lot of, what's the word? Pride, fulfillment. Yeah,
I guess. Yeah, it's great. I like hammering them too when they suck.
Yeah. So
I just go and abuse them because they get better. It's like they take it because I do it in a funny way. Like they just, I just kind of hammer them. If you guys on Tuesday afternoons, I do a live show called the Crewcast. It's at 4 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday, and you can get the link if you join the Headshot Crew. Sometimes I do them publicly, but if you're floating around the web and you tweet at me and ask me for the link on a Tuesday at 4, I'd give it to you, and you could see the way these reviews go. It's just a lot of learning, a lot of fun, and it's taking these people's and just getting them. It's a lot of what I teach are subtleties. Like I think that the difference between a good headshot and a great headshot is like nothing. It's like nothing. Or a bad headshot and a good headshot. Usable headshot and one that's toast is so small of a difference. It's just these tiny mistakes that add up that I think that people can definitely get better at. And it's my forte. Like it's my wheelhouse. Like I actually got better at shooting, way better at shooting because I started teaching. Because I became more aware. I think a lot of photography is about awareness and what you're aware of. And I wasn't aware of things. I'm learning by writing my book what I'm aware of, what I'm not aware of. I come up with new stuff every day. Like new stuff. Like this morning, I was writing my book and something popped in my brain and I was like, wait a minute, I have this. And I have this document on Google Docs that's all my ideas that I come up with in this crazy brain of mine, and write them down. If you guys get ideas, write them down because they're going to go and they're going to leave and you're never going to find them. And I wish I wrote down every idea I had, but it was gone and I never could harness it back into my mental capacity. So, because my brain's like this, that's the way I roll. But today I wrote it down. And it was an idea that I'm going to implement into a session. And I think it's one of those things, like I said before, I don't think you can ever master direction. I think direction in photography, I think it's the same with light. Like lighting in photography is always going to be something that you can get better at it, but light is everything changes. Like you take a 5D Mark III, and you learn every technical thing about it, everything that thing does. It's like dealing with a computer, and you know the ins and outs of that thing. It's going to do everything you tell it to do. right? But light and then and dealing with a human being in front of you, that's wild cards. Like there's so many variables that you can never nail it down. You'll never nail it down. By the way, I don't have my 5D Mark III nailed down. I got to nail it down.
You got to nail that down.
I love that thing, but I got to nail it down.
So we're approaching an hour, which is usually our where we start wrapping things up, and we can open it to some questions too. But
I'd love to answer some questions.
Yeah, but a few other things that I have written down here. As I often have portrait shoots, like I said, there are a lot of times it's last minute. Like I'll get a call from the New York Times or whoever, say, "Hey, go to this executive or this celebrity or this whoever, normal schmo, and take their portrait." And I only have a few minutes with them, and I'll quickly, get on my phone, Google them, look them up, try to find and see if there's any interest that they have that I have, because obviously, like you photograph so many people. There's so many anecdotes that I'm sure you have clearly that you can talk with them about. And what do you usually do to prepare yourself for your average subject? Or do you prepare more for some than others, or is it just they come in?
Yeah, sometimes with my headshot work where they're coming to the studio, I'm game on. I'm usually shooting like 3 people in a day, so I'm not going to go do research on those people generally. If they came in and I met them, or if there's somebody that I'm like, I get a job from a client and they're like, hey, here's this person, here's what they're working with, check it out. Maybe I will, but most of the time I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. I want that person walking in as a clean slate, and I just want to start to mess with them and get them to do what I want to do. So I don't really overthink that. If I get a job a little bit further ahead of time where I have, sometimes I'll ask them for inspiration. What are you looking for? What kind of shots do you like? Pull some screenshots from the web and send them to me so I get some inspiration out of them. That's always helpful. I might do some research on what pictures they have been using and looking up, like what I said before about their digital identity. But I'm really not doing much more than that. I'm trying to be myself. I love this shot. This was the president of Evian, Eric, and he came in. He did a consultation with me, which is very rare, which was really nice. And he's just a great guy. And we shot that picture, and I loved it so much I put it as the very first shot on my website.
Very nice. And you got the celebrities as well. I bet that was a fun shoot.
That was awesome. She's amazing in front of the camera. Sometimes,
Was this in your studio?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a story, funny story, about celebrity coming to my place. I don't have a studio, but I shoot for the LA Times, and they gave me an assignment to photograph Alec Baldwin once, right? And they said, he doesn't want to do it in public. He's shy. He doesn't want people to see. And do you have a studio or anything? I said, no, but at that time I had a backyard. I had like a garden apartment, right? So he shows up to my apartment, and it's dead summer. He shows up, and just like, on Saturday Night Live, he is sweating from, like, his whole front of the shirt is completely sweated through. He's up in arms, he's like, oh, it's so hot, I don't know if I can do this. He comes into my office, goes right into my office and like hangs on the air conditioner, and then calls off the shoot. I had to, arrange all this stuff. There was some catering. There was, his people were there. His groomer was there. I had an assistant. I had everything set up in my backyard, and he ended up canceling it because of, one reason or another. But I ended up having to go out to the Hamptons a couple days later to take his portrait.
You were in L.A.?
No, I was here in New York.
Oh, you were here. Okay.
I was here in New York, and he actually lived at that time just 5 blocks from me. So he literally from his walk.
He walked. And he
5 blocks.
Exhausted.
He was not just exhausted, but just disgusting. It was 90 degrees out. It was a gross kind of day. So I've had these. I don't ever have people coming to me like they come to you. It's usually me going to, a press junket or something like that, and you have to make a hotel room into some sort of quick studio of some sort.
Yeah.
Inspiration. What is who inspires you? Obviously, your mentor, Bruce Weber.
Yeah, I mean, Bruce inspires me the most out of any photographer out there. So I think there's a couple things that I really love about what he does is everything's so natural. And when you look at his pictures, like if I flip through a magazine and you don't tell me that Bruce Weber shot it, I'm like, so it's so glaringly obvious that Bruce shot it that it blows me away. So I always love that about his work. Not to mention the fact that I've been in front of his camera, so I have a sense of what the models or actors or whoever he's photographing is doing. So I remember when he asked me to pick up a camera, he gave me a book he's friends with David Bailey, and he had this book that David Bailey did. It's an old book, and he handed it to me, and he gave me this book I got to dig that book up. So I just thought that was awesome. He never really sat down and coached me on photography, but his inspiration was so huge, And I told him one day, I said, he's like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, I just really want to do what you do. And I didn't realize what mountain that was to climb.
Well, so what he does is still a little bit different than what you do, because he's out.
No, I can't do what he does.
So
nobody can do what he does. That guy's a genius. Guys, Bruce Weber, check him out.
Yeah, you can see him on billboards, Times Square. Yeah. So that brings me up to this question, which is, do you have any passions in other genres of photography other than headshots and strictly portraiture? Do you like travel photography? Do you do anything else, maybe for fun or even for work?
I feel like a fish out of water when I point a camera around and don't take time and not tethered, and like I'm always tethered and watching everything I do. So I feel like, I actually had fun. We went sailing on this F-Stoppers trip. Uh-huh. And I took out the 5D and I put a 24-70 on, and I just start whipping it around and shooting some pictures, and I actually got some good stuff.
I
was like, this is kind of cool.
Well, I think it's the same sort of thing. Like, once you have the technicals down and you have an eye clearly, I'm sure that you.
Well, I used to do a lot of that. Obviously, when you have when you're eager and you want to learn and you want to shoot a lot. I actually used to run all over. Whenever I was going on casting, I would just have my camera with me, and I did do that. It's just that now I shoot all week. I grew up on the Jersey Shore, and I race sailboats. So tomorrow I'm going to race sailboats for the weekend, so I'm psyched. And all my sailing friends never see me with a camera. They're like, we've never even seen you hold a camera. I'm like, because I shoot all week in the studio. I'm behind the thing all week. And so the last thing I do is pick it up, on weekends. But I'm going to bring my stuff, and maybe I'll pick it up and shoot a little bit.
Awesome. Okay, let's see here. I think, is there anything else before we open it up to any questions that anybody might have? Anything coming up that you want to talk about?
The book release. The book release. I'm writing a book called The Headshot. It's been on Amazon. They've been pre-selling it since August. And I apologize for not getting it out there sooner, but I made a self-imposed deadline of June 1st, so it is going to be done. And that's going to be really cool. I'm going to Photoshop World, and I'm going to be selling the book there, which I'm excited about. I do my signature courses through the Headshot Crew. Guys, I do core coaching. Every week you get a video. And then every week at 4 o'clock, I do a crew cast on Tuesdays, and I do some coaching. And my signature workshops are on the workshop link on this page. And I'm doing the Headshot Intensified for the first time. It's a 3-day course. I've added another day because the other one got so crazy. Uh-huh. And I know all the things that people are missing now, so I'm going to take 3 days to really drill it into people's heads. And I'm also doing a crash course, which still has space. Day 2, I think, has 1 spot in it. But day 1 has 20 spots, so it has more space in it. And that's on June 6th. So go to headshotcrew.com/workshops, and you can check them out. I'll be adding more as I go. We're also going on a cruise with the Headshot Crew in April 2016. So if you want to go, people are coming.
That's awesome. And then also on social media, you are Peter Hurley.
I am Peter_Hurley on Twitter. I asked the guy who had Peter Hurley. He had 4 followers. He hadn't done anything. He's like, no, I want to keep it. I was like, are you kidding me?
Got to offer him some cash.
Yeah. So I'm Peter_Hurley. I think I did offer him cash. I don't remember. Peter_Hurley on Twitter. Peter_Hurley on Instagram. Peter Hurley Photo on Facebook and YouTube.
Awesome. So this will all be on photobrigade.com/live come next week if you're not watching it live right now. Is there anybody that has any questions in the audience? Anybody? Crickets? No, everyone's here.
No
just
questions for me. Come on, you got a question.
Go ahead. What do you got? How many studios?
I have one. Yeah, I used to have 2. I had one in LA. I had one in Dallas too. So at one point I had 3. But the Dallas one was a buddy of mine who he's like, you can come. He had Kino flows, so I didn't have to travel with him. And he's like, okay, put it on, because I was going about twice a year. He's like, you can come whenever you want. But I was like, I don't really feel like I have a studio there. So I took that off the site. And then LA, I had a studio for 5 years. and I was going every month, but then I got so busy here and I'm traveling all the time. And I was like, I'm not going every month anymore. But a buddy of mine has a studio there and has my lights and has my setup. So I still keep it on the site because I do go to LA about every 6 to 8 weeks. So I'm just, but the only studio that's really on my dime is my New York studio.
And speaking of that, I can't imagine, is that also your home too? Do you sort of live in the same space? I mean,
no, I live on 24th Street and the studio's on 26th. I have a 3-minute commute.
Oh, nice. When is I just can't imagine, like, that's a big investment having a studio.
It's $7,500 a month. My studio. So I got to shoot 8 people just to pay for the studio
per month,
right?
And you
You don't just use your studio, right? You never rent it out or anything like that.
yeah, do you
I rent it out. Yeah, people want to rent it out. I do rent it out. I rent it out to Headshot crew members for a discount, and then it should be on Craigslist. My assistant's been trying to keep it going. So we do rent it out.
How about How about your team? You mentioned working with people. How much does your team help out? I mean, I know that.
I have mentors of the Headshot crew. So what happens is in the Headshot crew we have 7,000 photographers, and there's a basic package. So they just sign up. Everybody can do that for free. If you're not on it, just do it because you get going. And then if you want coaching, there's a protege level. If you've taken any of my courses, you go to the BFAS level, which is just a label, and it means Bachelor's in the Fine Art of Shabanging. So, and then once you've gotten 15 good shots in a portfolio, if you can show me, I'm looking for photographers, guys. If you can show me 15 good shots in a portfolio, you can become an associate. I don't care where you are in the world. We have about 60 associates that have been dubbed associates. Once you're an associate, then if you've shown that you know what you're doing, you're helpful to the community, I like you, I feel I have, I'm in space one day, I don't know. I just make people mentors, and the mentors are really the ones that help me. So they're my team, and they're the ones that go out and go above and beyond. There's a guy named Pedro, and he's in Lisbon, Portugal. And he helps me run the whole entire site. There's a guy in the Netherlands named Maurice. Maurice and Pedro are like 2 mentors on my site that help me a ton. So I'm always looking for people. But you know what? Headshot photographers come and go. They come on the site. They go crazy. They leave. They come back. They get a little coaching. They leave. So people are in and out, which is fine with me. I like that. And I just like putting out my little videos and doing a little teaching, a little coaching. And every Tuesday I'm on live I use Spreecast. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Okay.
I do crew casting on Spreecast. So we do portfolio reviews. We talk about any kind of events, any new stuff that's coming out. And
so you're really keeping up on technology too. I think that's really cool. Using Periscope. He's periscoping right now on his phone. So he's talking to, a handful of people, and people are giving him little hearts and notes and stuff like that, which is kind of fun. So someone from the internet was asking, when are you going to come to Australia?
I don't have somebody in Colombia. Yeah, guys, Periscope people, what do you got? I don't have somebody in Colombia. I don't have anybody in Colombia. Go to headshotcrew.com and just search Colombia right there.
Search Colombia.
Just put Colombia. Let's see what we got. This is kind of cool, you guys. So this is what I want to come up, Columbia, South Carolina, or the country.
Colombia, Bogota.
We got it.
Bogota.
We got 4 photographers in Colombia.
Yep.
Now, you see that?
Colombia is spelled with an O.
I got 4 photographers. What?
I was telling your periscoper. So Australia, when are you coming to Australia? Someone wants to know.
Oh my gosh. Okay, guys, this is the deal. I keep getting asked that. I had a guy from Australia, from Melbourne, come into the studio. He just knocked on the door the other day. I mean, I feel lucky to pick up a camera. So I like when people come from the other side of the planet and come to see me. It's really cool. It's happened a bunch, and it's created a lot of great relationships for me. Australia is one place that I really want to go, but I just need some support from the community down there for them to say, hey, if I do some workshops in Sydney and Melbourne, and I'd like to go to Perth because my buddy Bruno is in Perth now. I got to put Perth. You'll see Bruno. Bruno.
P-E-R-T-A?
Yeah. Bruno is amazing. This guy's on this thing. He gets on with me at 5 a.m. He wakes up at 3 a.m. in the morning to get on the crewcast. There he is, Bruno, right there. How many people in Perth do we have?
Looked like maybe half dozen or
Go
so.
back.
I'll
Go back. What are you doing? Stop fooling around.
Come on.
There we go.
Oh,
Look
wow.
at that.
Holy cow.
Look at Perth.
Perth is all.
So what I'll do is now I want to go to Australia, and the plan is to get there. I'm just not sure when. Most likely, it's not going to be anytime soon, but hopefully, I'll get there in 2016 at some point.
We got a message from you from the internet from Jared Polin at Frodo's Photo. He just simply says, "Peter is so hot."
He's very attracted to my locks. You know, it's tough for him because now I've got him. Like, I always shave it. Like, I change my hair. He always stays the same, but I'm always trying to get him to do something with me with the hair. And he, you know, sometimes it's hard to pin that guy down.
Yeah. There's another question about Instagram. Jared's asking about. Oh, you guys made a connection by using Instagram, you and Jared? Is that the question?
That we did? Yeah. Did he Instagram something?
How you've been able to make the connections through Instagram. Have you been able to make good connections
I've
using
made
Instagram?
some. So, for instance, a girl I shot yesterday is Dulce Candy on Instagram, and she's an internet sensation, and she's got 1 million followers. So, you know, I Instagrammed the shot that we took yesterday, and then she Instagrammed a shot she took of me and tagged me, which is awesome. And she was amazing. She was just like the biggest thing when you're shooting a portrait is it's great if you are really good at what you do and you have a really good personality, but when that person in front of the camera gives you energy back and is amazing individual, it just makes our job so much easier. Oh my gosh, yesterday I'm sitting there in Cosmopolitan shooting in their offices, in the Hearst offices, and this girl, every picture I took of her was gorgeous. I just crazy about her. And then she's got 1 million followers on Instagram, and I was like, she's like, I'll get it out there. I'm going to help you.
It's amazing how you make those connections with people that are really big on certain media platforms and how that can really help. Yeah. Any other questions from the audience? Oh, got one right up front.
Ask, back to your associate photographers. Do you require them to have studios or rent studio space, or are some of them working out of like living?
No, I mean, I started in a studio living room. I started in my apartment. I don't care about anything that anybody does. I don't even care if people shoot on a white background. Like, people think that they have to shoot like me. You don't. Like, I don't care about any of that. What I care about is when I look at your pictures, are they good? Like, if somebody's good, like, this is it. There's some dude sitting in the middle America somewhere in a little ho-dunk town who, you know, taking portraits of people that just are unbelievable.
Is it Podunk or Hodunk?
I don't know. Whatever I said.
Just checking.
Podunk, whatever the town is. Some little town in the middle of nowhere which has a population of 375 people, and this guy rocks. And this guy can go anywhere in the world because he rocks. He can go any city, he can do it. If he chooses to live there, he could get clients to fly him all over the place. I know he's out there. And why not you? Like, why are you thinking that you're held back in any way, shape, or form? And we already said that that's the best light that there is. So what do you need? And people talk about money. I was like, look at the products that these companies give us to shoot with. When I shot, I had to pull a Polaroid, wait 2 minutes, look at it, and see if it was good, and then shoot film and try and know what to do with it. You guys have instant gratification. I have no sympathy for any photographer out there. I never took a course. I'm self-taught. That's why I don't know all the technical stuff. I don't care. I make my own rules, and then I break my own rules. So I just do it. But I know that there's people sitting out there with all the talent in the world, and they're probably holding themselves back more than the industry or, you know, making a living or whatever. Because I know a guy that's holding himself back. There's a guy in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, who is a rock star with a camera, and I had him going, and then he just put the camera down, and I got to get him to pick the camera back up again. So I think it's he's a bus driver. I was trying to get him off the bus. This is the thing about when you're doing another job. I don't recommend jumping into photography until your photography surpasses or at least gets close to the income you're making at your other job. Once your income flip-flops, you're out. You're good. But until then, you stick with what you got and you just keep doing it and plugging away about it. And keep working on your craft, because the better you get, like I said, it's all subtleties. It's like these little incremental things. It's not big. You think it's big. It's not big. It's tiny little things. But you got to have some goals for yourself, and you got to do it. I wouldn't have gone anywhere without goals. I applied what I had used when I was training for the Olympics and used some of that goal setting that I had in my brain and applied it to photography, and it panned out. But like I said, I don't stop. I'm not stopping. I don't want you to stop. There's no reason to stop. We love taking pictures. Could you imagine I get paid? Somebody stands in front of me. I press the button and then they pay me money.
It's amazing.
I mean, how cool is that? It's cool.
Yeah.
And then they're happy. When my clients post their headshots to Facebook, they get more hits on their profile pictures than any other thing they posted the entire year. It's huge. Headshot photography, guys. Got to do it.
Anyone else have questions? Go ahead.
What websites do you recommend promoting yourself on? I mean, there's stuff from like Backstage and some others.
I have stuff on Backstage. I mean, Backstage really got me going. I mean, Model Mayhem, I don't do that. I think I signed up like years ago and never touched it since. Honestly, for me, what I did was I built it back in the 2002 to 2007, 2006. That was when I was really growing my business and doing everything that was available back then at the time. What happened was, as my brand grew, I started getting attention from photographers, and then my income changed because of my teaching. I do make a big source of income off my teaching. It's an important part of my income, and living in the city and having a $7,500 studio, and having
the overhead alone, just to that in New York City, the overhead.
Oh yeah, you can't. It's crazy. I'm in a 2-bedroom apartment which I bought.
Wow.
I bought it. I had some help from my brother. I bought it in 2005. He gave me the down payment.
Wow.
And then he's like, I want it back. I was like, okay. So I paid him back, and now it's mine. But I have twin daughters. I'm in a 2-bedroom. I live with my mother-in-law. So they got bunk beds and underneath a trundle. And they're 12. It's time to get them out of there. But the apartment right now is probably worth between $2 and $2.5 million, somewhere in there. So to go to a 3-bedroom, I got to go to $3 million.
It's
anyway,
crazy.
I'm giving you guys too much information, but I did not buy it for that. I bought it for a little bit over $1 million. But the point is that you're in New York, you're trying to make ends meet. I don't know how a photographer would make it today. My first studio cost me $1,000 a month that I moved into. It would be very hard to make it today, I think, here. That's why I rent my studio out to people if they want to use it. I'm going away for the month of July. You guys go nuts. You're going to have flex kits in there, and I don't mind people using my lights. I'm sponsored by Profoto and Westcott and Canon, and their stuff that they loan me is for the photographers that I teach to use. So I don't mind any of that at all.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm kind of going through the same thing, looking to move to a 3-bedroom as well. I've been in a 2-bedroom for a bit, and it's just the prices have gone up so much. I'm not looking to buy, I'm looking to rent, but insane here in New York. Any last questions? One all the way in the back.
Hi, can I have your card?
Sure.
She wants your card.
She wants my card.
Nice.
Is there
You want a
anything
cookie
else from
too?
the internet? Do we have
Anything else from the interwebs?
internet?
Oh, any advice for somebody in a wheelchair?
Yes. I talked to Jaleel King and Paul Vianu. Am I saying that right? These are two people who I've worked with. I've worked with Amanda too in London. So I've worked with 3 individuals that are in wheelchairs, and just their stories and the fact that their talent and what they do is so amazing. One thing that I do, I've photographed people in wheelchairs too. The best advice I have is, if you can afford it, get the one that you can raise it up and down. Like, get the electrical one with the raising up and down. That would be a huge help if you could raise it. And when you're looking for them, get like the one that goes the highest, so that you can go really low and go really high. But the other thing that you have to do, and everybody is going to be willing to do this, if you're a photographer in a wheelchair, you want to get people down to your level. So they'll do it. Just say, hey, do you mind? I'm down here. Get them down. If you can if you have a studio, build a little ramp, get yourself up a little bit higher, so that you can shoot and people won't have to get so low. Because I like shooting straight at people. I like shooting. I'd rather shoot up than be above people shooting down. But if you could shoot straight at them, that would be fantastic. So if you can do those things, you'll be in business. Keep plugging away at it, because I think I've seen beautiful things. Look up Jaleel King. He's the best on Twitter. I think he's just Jaleel King. We did a fundraiser for him. Jared and I helped with. He needed a new wheelchair. He did a little Kickstarter for it or something. We put it out there over our social networks, and I think he needed $5,000, and I think he got $10,000 in like a day or something to pay for the wheelchair. So the community's really supportive. I just went to Halifax, and I was with Paul, and he photographed me, and I sat in a chair, and I was on the same level as him. He didn't ask. He just set up the chair, and I sat down. It was perfect. So if you have a setup that gets people comfortable at your level, you're fine.
That's interesting. You're talking about getting at the same level. I photographed the artist Chuck Close in his studio here in New York. Famous photographer.
Wow.
Well, you probably know his
He's
portraiture
amazing.
and everything.
You
and
shot him?
Yeah, I actually.
Wow.
It was intimidating to say the least.
Unbelievable.
But anyway,
how was that?
That was really good. And what was really interesting about his studio, well, first was walking in and seeing his amazing portraits that he's taken on the scale of 15, 20 feet high.
That must have been really intimidating for you.
And he was painting. Yeah, it was. When I walked in, I wasn't intimidated at first. And then when I walked, I was like, oh crap, he's really, really like the real deal. Yeah.
Major.
And
big.
But what he had that kind of helped him is he does these massive paintings and portraits and whatnot, and he 15-foot wide canvases, and he has a setup so that his canvas actually goes down into the floor to the basement level, so he can be at seated level, wherever he's doing, and it contorts.
That was smart.
Yeah, really
Wow.
smart. And then I've seen him a couple times since at some parties that I've covered for the Times or something, and he's got one of these wheelchairs that you were talking about, where all of a sudden he's up at eye level, and it's amazing.
Oh, you know what would work too? Because I like to stand people. I was just thinking about that. So when in sail lofts, when you make sails, you sit in a pit, and the sail comes over to you, and they go into the machine. And I used to work at a sail loft, so I would be down in the pit, and if you stand up in there, it's like it's a little bit above your waist, or maybe a little bit below your waist, depending on the depth. Like somebody in a wheelchair could always do that. They could make a pit that somebody just stands in, and then they stand up, and they can just shoot them from the waist up, and they still have the body standing straight up, so they're not slouchy or anything. That's another idea. If you have that kind of space and could do something, that would be cool.
So we'll put all these kind of links that we talked about, the photographer you mentioned to go check, and everything else in the comments below. Any last questions before we end this sucker? Look, one more web.
He threw a sucker out before I did.
Any photography books that have changed your perspective in photography?
Oh boy. Oh Boise. Photography books that have changed my perspective on photography. Well, it would have to be Richard Avedon's In the America West. I mean, I shoot a white background and a clean light, and I started with black and white. And I would say that's the biggest, Bruce is my biggest inspiration, but that book was like, those are just so cool. And that's what kind of, I guess, got my head churning a little bit around doing the white background. There was a photographer that I shot my headshots with that was doing white background stuff in his apartment, and I shot with him, and he did that, and I liked it. And then seeing Richard Avedon stuff, I was like, I'm done. That's it.
One time I actually got denied I didn't get a job because I didn't have any examples of people on white backgrounds on my website.
Wow.
They said, well, we want it on a white background. I was like, I could do it on a white background.
I can pull that off.
I can pull that off.
I can wing it.
And then I couldn't get it because I didn't have it on my portfolio, and they gave it to someone else, that only does that. Someone like you, probably.
I don't think I got it.
No.
Who was it?
This was a long time ago.
Could have been me.
I don't even remember.
Probably was me.
Well,
I hammered him. Took him right out of the game.
Well, Peter, I really appreciate you taking the time coming on the show. I hope that maybe we can do it again and collaborate in the future.
It's awesome.
It'll be good. Peter Hurley, everybody, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks for those out there watching. Guys, I really appreciate it, so thanks a lot. And we got to end with a shebang. So can we scare the store?
Yes.
I'm going to go 3, 2, 1. I want you guys to yell shebang at the top of your lungs. You ready? 3, 2, 1, shebang!